This program is brought to you by the following sponsors.
What is going on, guys? Jay Shy here with another video, and this is a brand new segment that me and Larry are working on. Larry's not here at the moment. He had some things to take care of during the holidays, so I'm going to be doing this. Next episode, he will be helping me on this. Hopefully, if his schedule is not too tight. But as you can see, this is a brand new segment that we're trying to do. We've been trying to do segments together for a while. As you guys know, we tried to do the whole fighting game thing. That was fun. We really want to do that, but we're not sure how much you guys enjoy it. We tried the Shin Megami Tensei First Timers thing, which you guys all enjoyed, but he was like, oh my god, please don't put me through that again. You can just kind of see it. He's not a big Shin Megami Tensei fan, but it was just the first timer thing for him. So we came up with something. I came up with something a while ago that I'm actually planning on doing, and this is kind of like a demo run for that. Hope you guys enjoy it. Anyway, let's dive right into what this is. As you guys can see, it's called Predicting Gems. As you guys know, Larry and I, we've been collecting video games for a long time. A lot of YouTubers on here have been collecting for quite some time. Some are brand new. Larry and I grew up in an era where, we grew up of the era of the 90s, where we bought games for the Nintendo, all the way to the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Sega Saturn, Sega Dreamcast, the PlayStation 1, and that's the era that we really like. That's the era that we love. That's the one that we identify with. Anything I would say from PS2 going upward is kind of like not our realm. So we tend to stick in where we love. Granted, I have PlayStation 2 games behind me because there are some games that I do actually like on that console. But as a collector, you guys know I've kind of slowed down. I'm only buying the games that I really want to play. But what we've noticed for quite some time, that games for certain consoles that we love, like Super Nintendo, hands down, those games are super expensive. The games, like their prices have skyrocketed, and I don't think that they're ever going to come down. Same thing with the NES. The worst one I can probably say is the Sega Saturn. Sega Saturn is very high up on there in the video game market. I have a Sega Saturn. I would love to play a certain game on the Sega Saturn, but I'm not willing to pay $400 for a CD just to pop it into a console and play it. That's a lot of money to put down on one game. But it's just gotten too expensive just to maintain. Even for newer collectors out there that are like, they want to dive into this console generation, they kind of can't, because they have to shell out so much money. They need like the blood, like a blood sacrifice, and then their first newborn just to get a brand new video game to play or collect for a console generation that they want to connect with. It has gotten way too expensive, even for Larry and I. So we came up with this idea. Every now and then we would always sit down and we always try to go to GameStop and pick up a game that we really are very interested in. And we have this interesting good knack to predict what games are probably going to be really hard to find, or what games are going to be rare in the future. And we're pretty good at that. For example, a game that I bought, I was going to buy 2 copies of, one for me and one for a friend for his birthday. I didn't have enough money to get the game for myself. It was on the Wii, and I didn't have enough money, so I bought him a copy and I gave it to him. Fast forward 6 months later, and the game it went from being a $20 game on the Wii to an $85 game. And I always knew, I was like, that game was going to be something special, and it's a game on the Wii called Fragile Dreams. Fragile Dreams is an action RPG, and I knew it was going to be something, very hard to find. It just looked very good, and it has an XC logo on it. You just kind of have to know these things. But I have this habit of just knowing what's good. You have an eye for it, I guess you can kind So I came up with this segment, and I want him to help me because he's really good at it as well. So what I'm planning to do is, I would say from games from, I would say the Nintendo Wii, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and up. We're gonna kind of, this is not law. I'm just gonna say that right now. It's not saying, hey, this is what's gonna happen. This is just our predictions. This is what we predict. So the segment is basically for collectors or future collectors. If you want to dive into collecting, this segment will be for you. If you're already a collector and you're not sure, this segment's for you. If you just want to watch, this segment is also for you. But it's just gonna kind of be me and him. It's me today, but me and him picking 3 games. Every episode is gonna be 3 games that we pick that we think or won't, or we'll tell you won't be very hard to find, a very hard, uncommon game, hard to find in the future, or it's probably gonna skyrocket. There's a bunch of different collectors out there. There is collectors who collect for nostalgic purposes, just like me. I collect because it reminds me of the good old days, or I collect because I really want to play it. Like a lot of my PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3 games, I just collect those games because I really like those games, and I never trade them in because I don't like to trade. Or this thing is for shelf collectors. Collectors who just basically buy up a game, shell out a lot of money, and put it on a shelf and never touch it. And collectors who I guess want to pick up a game and just have it. Something. I don't know. But the first thing is this is what this segment will be: 3 games every episode. And I guess I kind of said everything that I needed to say about what predicting gems is. I guess now we can dive into the first game that I predict will probably be something very hard to find in the future. And let's dive right in. So the first game that I can kind of say I predict would be really difficult to find, especially if you're just diving into the gaming industry, or you're diving into collecting, or you're already a collector but you're trying to buy other stuff. I say collect for the future. Collect because it's something you want to play, or collect because you think it would be hard to find in the future. The first game is a game that no one liked when it came out, but it has a cult following, and it is Too Human on the Xbox 360. Now, a lot of people will disagree with it. They will say, no, this game is not going to be worth anything. It's going to stay a bargain bin game for the rest of its life. I disagree. And the reason why I disagree is because you have to remember there are different types of collectors out there. There are completionist collectors out there. The reason why I think Too Human is going to be really hard to find is because now a lot of us know that they went through some legal troubles. The Silicon Knights, they went through some legal troubles with Epic Games. I don't remember what happened. Something had to do with the Epic engine or the Unreal engine or whatever. With that being said, GameStop and other game outlets had to get the remaining copies of Too Human and liquidate them. They had to throw them straight into the trash, break all the discs. So that means in 2008, when this game came out, the game only sold 184,000 copies in its 10th week. By 2015, it says that there was 346,000 copies sold. But the thing is that a lot of those games had to be liquidated. So that means there's probably less copies of Too Human around right now. A lot of people didn't like the game. A select few kept the game. So I would definitely say in the future this game will be very hard to find. Now, like I said, you will disagree with me because the game is garbage. Do you realize how many garbage games there are on the Sega Genesis, the NES, the Sega Saturn, games that are absolute trash that are selling for $200 and plus that? So if you're a collector and you need this game in your collection, you don't have it, if you find a copy of Too Human, you better get it because you're probably not going to see it. Moving on to game number 2. Game number 2 is a PS3 exclusive, I believe, and it is 3D Dot Heroes. 3D Dot Heroes is a Zelda clone, almost like a Zelda clone with 3D pixel. It's like an 8-bit pixel game in a 3D realm. It looks really good, and it has an Atlas logo at the bottom. Everyone knows that Atlas logos attract collectors' eyeballs. They're just, I don't know, they're niche games, and they're very, I would say, they are very, how do I say this? They are made for a niche market, I guess you could say. Anyway, in the 10th week when 3D Dot Heroes first came out, it sold 127,000 copies. It sold a little bit above that, 127,000 copies. It's not a lot. By 2015, it only sold 323,000 copies. Now, the thing is that means in the United States alone, all of the numbers that I'm giving you is in the United States alone. That means in a place where there's millions of gamers or people who play video games, people who collect, there's only 323,000 copies out there. So that means if you have a copy of 3D Dot Heroes, hold on to it, because there's going to be a collector out there someday that's going to dish out a lot of money for it, or they're going to need it in their collection if they're a completionist. So I say hold on to it. And it's an awesome game. It's great. It plays exactly like Zelda, but it has a nice charm to it. So I guarantee you people are going to be looking for this game, mostly because it's not bad. It looks like a vintage game in a 3D world, so you're not going to see that often. And it's going to be hard to find, because out there in the wild, it's everywhere. There's millions of stores, and there's only 323 copies of this game going around. So if you don't know about this game, get it. If you're diving into being a collector, get this game. Next game and final game is a game that came out on the PS3, but it's only in Japan on the PS3, and it came out here on the Xbox 360. It is a 2D fighter by Atlas again, and it's a game called Battle Fantasia. I think it's Atlas, or it might be Axis. I don't remember, but it's one of them. Battle Fantasia is a 2D fighter that looks like a Disney movie. It is an interesting fighter, and I love this game. I've played it. It's really good. In its 10th week, it only sold 3,000 copies. 3,000 copies of this game was sold. You're not going to find this game everywhere. If you happen to find this game, you better get a copy of it ASAP. If you're a collector. In 2015, they only sold 67,000 copies. So that means that, once again, in a place where there's millions of people, only 6,000 copies of this game is out there. This game will be very hard to find. It's a really interesting. It doesn't really. It's not ambitious in its fighting mechanics. It's very traditional. It plays like a Street Fighter 2 game, but it's really good. It has interesting characters, and it looks like a Disney game. You're not going to see that all the time. And it's sold little quantities. And if you have this game complete, hands down, I would say about 10, maybe 12 years from now, it's going to be worth a little bit of a break. So I can say that, honestly, get this game. Anyway, moving on. So those are the 3 games that I think for this episode are going to be collectors are going to want. Collectors are going to need it, especially if you're a completionist. Now, there are certain rules you're going to have to remember when collecting. Now, when you're collecting, especially for games that come out multi-platform, one thing you're going to have to keep in mind is that a game that comes out multi-plat, a lot of the times it will usually be rare if it's on the PlayStation 3. The reason for this being is because PlayStation 3 is a niche console. A lot of games that come out that become rare are usually sought after by collectors on a niche console. They never really want to buy it for the games. Case in point, let's say Nier, for example. Nier came out for the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. Now, when Nier is being sold right now more expensively on the PlayStation 3. Probably the reason being is because it reminds collectors of a PlayStation game. I mean, not a PlayStation game. It reminds them of a Final Fantasy game. So they would rather play a Final Fantasy game on a Sony platform. Collectors just have preferences like that. A lot of people usually don't care as long as they have the game. But as a collector or a reseller, I would say, if you're thinking about collecting a game, for financial value, or you're collecting a game because it's going to be hard to find, the PlayStation 3 version of Nier would probably be the hardest version to find. I don't have the numbers because I didn't look up how much that game is going to be in the future, so I don't have anything. Maybe next time I will do it. Also, if you guys like this segment, please give me some comments down below. Hopefully for episode 2, Larry will be here to help me out, and we'll both agree on some games there. Also, even if you guys want to know my advice, if you think certain games are going to be rare, leave a comment on the game in the comments below. Leave a comment saying, hey, what about this game? Will it be rare, or do you think it'll be hard to find? Or should I hold on to it? And I'll give you an honest opinion on it. There is a lot of games out there that are not going to be worth anything, but there are some games that slip through the crack that people miss. And there are some games out there that are just absolute trash. We know it's trash. Everyone knows it's trash. Gaming journalists say it's trash. But sometimes you gotta look twice and be like, that game is gonna be hard to find, and it might be good if I'm drunk. So you gotta think about stuff like that. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed predicting gems, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.